What's up, people? A from A Tech Reviews here. Today we'll be reviewing the Kefine Delci 10mm single dynamic driver IEM. Before I start this video, full disclosure, I would like to thank Kefine for sending me this unit for review purposes, and I would like to say that no one paid me to say anything good or bad about anything I'm doing here today. This is just my own thoughts and opinions. No one influenced me in any way. Now, let's get that out of the way and move on with the review. Now, quickly, I will say a few words about the build and the design specs in a second or two, and then we'll move on to describe the sound, and I will end by comparing it to an IEM or two, which I have. Now, to start, this is the box it comes with. This is the manual. There is a quality certificate inside, and you get like 6 or 7, if I remember correctly, of ear tips. 6 or 7 pairs of ear tips. 3 of them are wide bore IEM ear tips, and 3 sets are narrow bore ear tips. I prefer the narrow bore for this IEM, as it increases the bass, or even the perception of bass, you could say, and helps tame the treble, because I think it doesn't need any more. With the wide bore, I think the treble, especially the lower treble, could get a bit more excessive, if I could say that, slightly, just a touch. Speaking of specs, here we have the dynamic driver. It's a 10mm, response is 20 to 20K. You have 108 dB sensitivity, and the impedance is 20 ohm. They only come in 3.5mm single-ended cable termination. They are 2 pins, 0.78, so no issues with compatibility here. I don't think even they need 4.4 in any way. Now, this is the case it comes with. As you can see, it's a pretty basic case for this price. I don't expect anything more. It's wonderful. It has a zipper, it's tight, it's protective, and it's not a hard case. I would say, like, you could see it kind of bends, you know, and it has this semi-gold font written Kefine on it, which is nice. Now, speaking of the IEM themselves, or the earpiece, now this is the impressive part here, in my opinion. As you can see, let me get that out of the way. The connector actually is a very high quality. It has the same color. All of this is aviation grade aluminum alloy, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. Now, here is the impressive part. Now, these are very lightweight. They come at 5.3 grams, believe it or not. And they come in this, I don't know like how to describe it. They say it's gunmetal color. It's like grayish, chrome grayish color, which is actually awesome. Now, the build quality here is top notch. And again, this is something that makes me like stand here in disbelief of the price. This comes at a $59 price. I heard the brand wanted to release it at $75 or $80. I read that online. I'm not sure if it's true or not. Maybe someone could help us in the comments and let us know. But for now, this comes at $59 at the time of this review, last time I checked. Now, the color here is wonderful. You get these double vents on the underside, left and right, and it's very lightweight, yet it's built like a tank, man. You can see it's very, very powerful and very sturdy and strong. The nozzle themselves, if you give me a second to measure it, it's around, you could see, like 5.3 millimeters to 5.4. So you shouldn't have any problems with ear tips or fit and something like that. Speaking of the fit, fit and comfort, I would like to speak about that for a moment. As you can see, the size of this IEM, the width specifically, is kind of on the smaller side, so they fit like a glove in your ear. They kind of lightweight, and honestly, I didn't feel them at all, and I could even sleep with them, like have a nap. And that's the way I could tell you if it's comfortable or not. Like, it's very lightweight, it's very small, it fits in your ear, you don't feel it. I would just say make sure that you choose the right ear tips to get your correct seal for this one. Another thing I would like to add is, with the right ear tips, the sound isolation, the passive sound isolation, is higher than average compared to other IEMs, even at higher price ranges. Like, I noticed that the passive sound isolation for my size, large or more than large, X large, I noticed that the sound isolation, excuse me, was excellent. Again, more than IEMs in this price range and higher. Now, let's talk about the sound. I don't want to like keep ranting like this. Let's go into the sound quickly, and let's start with the sub bass and mid bass. I will start and tell you that the sub bass here, this is like a sub bass focused IEM in the bass department, meaning that there is more sub bass than mid bass. And as much as I like the bass here, I think the sub bass is what makes me like say wow, because it has an excellent rumble, it's visceral, it's deep, it goes low, and I tested it with some of my tracks and it performs wonderfully. When it gets to the mid bass, I think it has just enough, it's excellent. Certainly the amount is there and it's very well done. I just think maybe it could just use more detail in the mid bass or more texture. Again, every time I remember the price, I have zero complaint, especially if you tell me, I'm serious, if this is even under 100, I have no complaints here. Especially that I know how well the other frequencies are well tuned and balanced. So anyway, I'm just telling you, if I reach for perfection, how would I say the only thing it needs is just a touch of texture or more detail and slam in the mid bass. The sub bass, excellent. It shouldn't be even touched anymore. It's just perfect here for this IEM. Now, when we move on to the mid range, let's go and talk about the lower mid range and then the upper mid range. First of all, I would like to say that the level of mid bass here that I talked about, it's fast, snappy, and it doesn't even bleed into the lower mid range, excuse me. And there's no smearing in any way. Rather, what you get is a pure vocal presentation that's very rich and very clear and transparent. I would describe it and say it's not forward and it's not backward at all. Also, it's not recessed or anything like that. It is balanced, but maybe just a touch more than balanced. Like the way I perceive it is that it is very clear. The vocals are very clear, male and female, and the instruments here is what makes me say that it is more than balanced, just slightly more clear. You know, like there is a focus when there is instruments. There is a very excellent vocal presentation and instrument presentation and separation. I will talk about that in a second. Now, when we move on to the upper mid-range and when we reach into the area where the female vocals are here, I would say they are more clear than usual. There's a slight emphasis here. It's not shouty or sibilant, but there is a slight emphasis with the female vocals. I think they get a higher clarity than you get with other sets. That same attention to detail and emphasis here on the upper mid-range carries over to the lower treble, which I think is just slightly, at some times, with some tracks, I think is just pushing it. And I mean pushing it by half a dB or 1 dB. I just noticed like some intensive drum tracks that I listened to that I felt here, I wish it could be just slightly lower. But with other tracks, most of the other tracks, I felt it is excellent. It has the level of detail I want to hear. The crashes, the cymbal crashes, the hi-hats, the drum sounds I listened to all sounded very detailed. Which also here I want to say the upper treble has enough air, enough shimmer, like it is like a detail-oriented IEM. Like I want to say that about the Technicalities also. This IEM, usually at this price you find that IEMs tend to be V-shaped or tend to focus on the bass and ignore anything else, or there's like a lot of bass bleed. Here this IEM is actually excellent in the level of technical detail it offers. The detail retrieval is very high. The sibilance, as I said, I only noticed it with maybe loud volume and very drum intensive tracks that has a lot of cymbal crashes and so on. And again, it's so small that most of the time it comes and goes. And when I used the narrow bore ear tips, that's why I recommend them, I noticed this disappeared and it became very balanced with a lot of detail. Micro detail, again, is impressive for the price range and above this price range. I don't know, like it surprised me personally. I can't believe, again, this comes at this price. This level of technical detail that I'm talking about carries over to the imaging and the imaging accuracy. Again, with many tests here I could pinpoint where things are with great accuracy, greater than usual at this price and higher. Honestly, I don't know Kefine that much, but this IEM has really impressed me. And again, the price, I keep thinking about it. I don't know what to say. Like it reminds me when the TNT2 came out and I bought it and I was like in disbelief that it cost $50, and here we are, this is $59 and I feel inside it should be $80 to $100. When we move on to the Soundstage, again, another surprise. Soundstage, I would not say it's wide or anything. I would just say it's wider than usual in this price range. In this price range, you usually, IEMs in general, at any price range, even when you get to $1,000, they usually have a more intimate presentation. So it's very rare to find a wide sounding IEM, something like the Glacier or the Campfire Andromedas. But here I would say it's not wide or anything like that, but it is wider than usual, wider than average. If I compare it with any IEM at any price, it is a wider than average. Combine this with the imaging accuracy I talked about and the detail-oriented sound signature I'm talking about, without the harshness or sibilance or anything like that, and you kind of understand why I'm saying this IEM is impressive and how it really sounds like if you get an above average sound signature on Soundstage and imaging accuracy and detail, add vocal clarity and excellent bass and sub bass, and there you go. I just described for you what you were here with something like the Kefine Delci. So this is the overall sound signature. I would just take a moment and say amplification. I think it doesn't require a lot of power to drive, minimal. Any dongle is more than sufficient using single-ended 3.5 millimeter. If you give it good quality amplification, if you give it something like with more power and more fidelity, I noticed that the bass improved, the dynamic improved, and the imaging and soundstage become better. This is what I noticed. Maybe vocals get a slightly more improvement, and maybe the details in the treble get more, how could I say that? Nuances could become more apparent easily. But the areas I noticed better were the dynamics, the soundstage, and the imaging. Now, quickly, I tried to compare this with a lot of IEMs I have, and I noticed that the price range it's offered at is kind of like strange. Like, like I can't compare it with things that cost like 20 or 30, like Tangent 1 or 0, Mondab True, and I can't compare it with things that cost 100. So the only IEM I found that has a similar like standing that I could compare it to is one of my favorite IEMs, which is the DUNU Titan S, which is an excellent IEM. Now, I know many people who would say that this is a bright neutral or bright leaning on the bright side IEM, and I definitely agree. I definitely agree with that 100%. There's no doubt in my mind. It is a very bright IEM. With that said, it offers a lot of good technicalities, a lot of detail, but I've always felt that the DUNU Titan S is a lean sounding IEM. It leans more to the lean side. It doesn't have enough bass to make it complete or balanced, and it has a bit more upper mid-range, in my opinion, that makes the sound signature very detailed but very, how can I say this, like very lean, very, I don't know, like focused on details, sometimes even treble, you could say that, if you could say that. But I loved it. I loved watching videos with it. I loved listening to it. It's an excellent IEM at a price that is awesome. The drivers are high quality and it has a lot of detail. Now comes the Kefine Delci, and I compare these like very intensely because this has been one of my favorite IEMs at this price range. And here I listen to this, and I will tell you the differences are, first of all, like the Kefine gets a higher ranking immediately just because of one thing, which is the bass and sub bass that elevates it because it becomes more balanced, and a more better sound, a fun sound, engaging sound. Some tracks I know with my heart, they have a lot of sub bass and bass, which I could hear on my monitor speakers. I couldn't hear them. They're very light on the DUNU Titan S, but I hear them with the same intensity on the Kefine Delci. Now, speaking of the vocals, I feel that the Delci is more balanced, as the DUNU may seem or may come at a bit with a more upper mid-range, and it could get a bit shouty or it could get a bit sharp at times, I will not deny that, which is not there in the Kefine Delci. This is one of the things that make me seem and say that this is an obvious upgrade to here. Treble, I will say, like, it depends on your tastes. Like the DUNU sometimes has a more like clean, like technical, lean treble. Here you feel the treble is normal, it's clean and detailed, but it's balanced with the bass that makes it seem like, a balanced or normal, I would say, IEM. Now, why would I say this is an upgrade over this one? Is only for one reason other than the bass, to be honest with you. It's the level of detail retrieval and technicalities that the Kefine Delci offers. It seems this is an upgrade, like there is maybe an improvement in driver technology, but this has a lot more detail retrieval, a lot of micro detail nuances that come on when you listen to it. Like, I only notice the difference when I compare them side by side. I notice that this, while excellent, leans to be a bit sharp, a bit lean, doesn't have the same. When I put this on, it seems like it opened up, slightly wider sound, technical yet not sharp, and it sounded wonderful. Like, honestly, it sounded great. Kudos to Kefine, like for having this IEM. It's a marvel at this price. I love it. This is going to be my standard recommendation at this price, unless we have an IEM that does a better job. I want to end quickly by saying a comparison to the Aria. The Aria 2, when I compared it to the Kefine Delci, the Aria 2 has more upper mid-range, which could be shouty at times, and the Kefine Delci has more bass, specifically sub-bass, but it also has more mid-bass. I love the Aria 2. It's a standard. Aria 2 cost $80 if I remember correctly, and at that price I still don't know. I'm talking about the Aria 2, and it comes with interchangeable adapters and sound signature. It's staying, I don't know, like there is a difference. I would say levels of detail are similar. Maybe the Kefine edges it more slightly. The Moondrop Aria 2 has more upper mid-range and the bass is lower. It can make it seem more neutral, if you will. While this is, I would say, neutral balanced, but it's kind of fun at the same time, like specifically because the upper mid-range is slightly low while having a lot of detail and an excellent bass. So the only thing I would say, if this has more texture in the bass, man, oh man, like it would beat many other IEMs. So that's it. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment below. I will answer them as soon as I can. Give it a thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe if you want to hear more. Until then, see you next time.